Have you ever had that feeling where the world just starts spinning? Out of nowhere, everything's upside down? Well, that's vertigo. And today we're going to break that down. We're going to look at what's happening inside your body, figure out why it happens, and most importantly, talk about how you can get back on solid ground. It's such a specific and powerful illusion, right? What's happening is your brain is getting these signals that you're in motion, like you're spinning or tilting, even when you're perfectly still. This isn't just feeling a little bit dizzy, it's this profound disconnect between what you feel and what's actually going on. And you know what? Millions of people have experienced this exact same thing. And this is a really, really important distinction to make. Dizziness is kind of a big catch-all term. It can mean feeling faint or lightheaded or just unsteady. But vertigo is one very specific thing, that rotational spinning sensation. Think of dizziness as this big umbrella, and vertigo is one very particular type of rain falling under it. Nailing this down is the absolute first step to figuring out what's wrong. And if you've ever felt this, you are so far from alone. We're talking about an estimated 69 million Americans. That's more than 1 out of every 5 adults who have dealt with a vestibular issue, some problem with their balance system. It's actually one of the most common reasons people go to the doctor, all looking for an answer to that same unsettling feeling. So what's actually going on inside our bodies that keeps us balanced? And what breaks down when that spinning sensation totally takes over? Well, it all starts with our body's own incredible built-in guidance system. That system is called the vestibular system. The best way to think about it is like your body's own high-tech internal compass and gyroscope. It's located right in your inner ear, and it's wired directly to your brain. It is constantly, and I mean constantly, processing information to control your balance and keep your eyes steady while you move. So when you get that vertigo feeling, it basically means there's a glitch somewhere in that system. And the fault almost always comes down to one of two places, either the inner ear or the brain itself. And figuring out which one it is, well, that's the key. Now, most of the time, I mean the vast majority of cases, we're talking about something called peripheral vertigo. That just means the problem is in the inner ear. It's way less common, but much more serious when we're dealing with central vertigo. That points to an issue in the brain, like the cerebellum or the brainstem. And making that distinction isn't just for curiosity's sake. It can literally be life-saving. All right, so how do doctors actually figure this out? It's kind of like they're playing detective. Once they suspect vertigo, the investigation really begins to find the exact cause, and they have some pretty clever tools to do it. Believe it or not, the #1 cause of vertigo is a condition with a real mouthful of a name: benign paroxysmal positional vertigo. We just call it BPVP. Here's the deal. You have these tiny little calcium crystals in your inner ear, and they're sometimes called ear rocks. And sometimes they can break loose and just drift into the wrong part of your inner ear. When that happens, they mess with the fluid in there and send these totally chaotic, false signals to your brain that you're moving. Okay, so if these tiny little ear rocks are the likely problem, how does a doctor actually prove it? It's a fair question, right? Well, it turns out there's a very specific physical test that's designed to do just that. It's called the Dix-Hallpike maneuver. Basically, a doctor or a therapist will guide you through a series of movements. They're designed on purpose to move those little ear rocks around. Now, if BPV is the cause, this will bring on the vertigo. But here's the kicker. They're not just looking for you to feel dizzy. They're looking at your eyes for a very specific thing, a kind of involuntary twitching called nystagmus. If they see that, boom, that's the confirmation. But what happens if the symptoms come on really fast and they're severe? Well, in an ER setting, doctors need to rule out the most dangerous cause right away, a stroke. To do that, they use something called the HINTS exam. It's a 3-part test they can do right at the bedside, and it's all about checking head and eye movements. And what's just incredible is that this simple bedside test is often better than an early MRI at telling the difference between a dangerous stroke and a simple inner ear problem. All right, so getting the diagnosis right is a huge part of the battle. But the other half is the treatment. And here's the great news. For most people, there are really effective solutions to get things back to normal. And for BPPV, remember, that's the most common one, the outlook is fantastic. I mean, check out this statistic. There's a specific physical treatment, and it works about 70% of the time on the very first try. With a few more attempts, that success rate goes up to nearly 100%. That has to be incredibly reassuring to hear if you're going through this. So, the fix is actually kind of like a mirror image of the test we just talked about. It's called the Epley maneuver.
It's another specific series of head and body movements, but this time the goal isn't to cause the vertigo, it's to fix it. The whole procedure basically uses gravity as a tool to carefully guide those loose crystals out of the sensitive canal and into a totally different part of the ear where they just get reabsorbed and stop causing all that trouble. Pretty clever, huh?
Of course, BPV isn't the only cause, so treatment is definitely not one size fits all. The approach has to be tailored to whatever the underlying condition is. So for something like Meniere's disease, it might be about managing your diet. For an inflammation like vestibular neuritis, it's more about medication and rehab. It all comes down to targeting the specific root of the problem.
For a lot of people, especially if they have lingering balance issues even after an episode is over, something called vestibular rehabilitation therapy, or VRT, is an absolute game changer. It's a special kind of physical therapy. It uses these very specific exercises for your head, body, and eyes to basically retrain your brain, helping it make up for the confusing signals it might be getting from the inner ear.
Okay, we've talked about the what, the why, and the how. Now let's get to maybe the most important part: knowing when you need to stop guessing and actually go get professional help.
So for most situations, you're going to want to see your doctor if the vertigo just won't go away or if it keeps coming back. Definitely go if it's starting to affect your daily life or if you feel like you're at risk of falling. You don't have to just tough it out. Okay, listen up, because this part is absolutely critical. If you have vertigo and any other of these other symptoms, double vision, trouble speaking, weakness in an arm or leg, numbness, or a really severe headache, that is a medical emergency. These are red flag symptoms that could point to a central cause, like a stroke, where every single second counts. Don't wait. Call for help immediately.
You know, vertigo can feel like your body's internal compass has just completely shattered. But as we've seen, it's often not broken. It's just a little confused. By understanding the signals our body is sending us, we can learn how to reset that compass. So maybe the real takeaway here isn't just about how to fix it, but also about taking a moment to appreciate the incredible, delicate system in our own heads that works so perfectly all the time just to keep us standing upright in the first place.